If you're trying to become an instructional designer, then I have two things to say to you. First, congratulations on finding out about the field, because that's honestly half the battle and not as many people know about instructional design as they should. So enjoy explaining what an instructional designer does for the rest of your career. And two, congratulations on finding your way to this video, because I'm about to show you how you can use AI to become an instructional designer way faster than you would otherwise and get a big leg up over the other people applying to the roles you'll be applying to. So if you're new here, welcome to the channel. My name is Devlin Peck, and I was working on becoming an instructional designer back in 2017. It was when I was still a little senior in college. I was studying English literature, and I got this random part-time instructional design job, and the rest was history. I immediately started a master's program the week after I finished undergrad. I immediately started building my freelance business and my portfolio so that I could start landing clients. And since then, I've created this channel, and we've helped hundreds, if not thousands, of people become an instructional designer. So I've been doing this for a while, and it's never been as easy as it is today because we didn't have AI back in 2017. So it's pretty wild what this technology can do, not only to help you upskill faster, but also to help you stand out to hiring managers and get noticed over people who might not be using AI to the full extent. So what's the big deal? Why do we care about AI? First of all, it can save you a lot of time, like I just mentioned, and I'm going to show you how. I created like a custom AI assistant that can guide you through the whole process to becoming an ID. So that should take a lot of the guesswork out of like having to go on online forums and rely on people mentoring you. You have your own 24/7 mentor now in your pocket. So that obviously has its benefits, and I'll demo that throughout this video. Also, employers are asking for it. So we did a quick job search yesterday for a few minutes, and we found multiple job listings with AI as a nice to have. I'll show you some of those on the following slides. And long story short, AI is the future, right? Like, big orgs are investing hundreds of billions of dollars into AI. Instructional designers are already using AI on the job in some cases to save tons of time. The cat's out of the bag. This is a direction we're headed. So yeah, we can hold off, right? There's probably going to be people in 10 years who might still not be using it, but I imagine they would be the minority at that point. So here we go. Yeah, here we go. These are just from some job listings we found in a few minutes yesterday doing a quick search on LinkedIn. Companies are already asking for these instructional design roles. So an understanding of generative AI applications in L&D. They're looking for someone who has experience integrating AI into their curriculum development. This company is looking for someone who has experience with AI design-based content design. A little confusing on the language there. But again, this is just for a few minutes. So it's finding its way into a lot of these nice to haves, and I believe if you can show off these nice to haves on your portfolio, especially when there's so much focus on AI right now, it's going to help you really stand out in the hiring process. So we're going to get to that. But first, I want to show you this AI assistant that can just help you learn the core skills of the field faster, right? Because I don't want to take away from this video to be like, if I only learn AI, I'm going to get hired, right? Like, you still need to learn the basics. You still need to know what an instructional designer does, and we're going to cover some of that, but AI will help you get there a lot faster. So yeah, I created this free AI assistant for you. It's honed on our process that we've been using here on the channel and, in our programs to help people become instructional designers. So if it does help you, please subscribe to the channel because, again, it's completely free. And I also want to know it's not going to be 100% perfect. So your feedback is going to be very important here. Think of this AI assistant as like a version 1. I'm impressed with it. I think it does a pretty good job, but this is something where if you are using it and you are interested in it, we can make it better by putting in a lot more effort. And that's something my team is happy to do if you are interested. So here's how you can get it. You can go to chatgpt.com/GPTs, and then you can just search for become an instructional designer. And then it will come up hopefully as, well, right now it's the only thing in the search, but we'll see. So then you just click on that, and then you'll have the option to start the chat. So once you hop in here, You can just chat with it. You can ask how you should get started. You can ask if ID is right for you. And you will need a ChatGPT account. If you don't have one already, you can just use your Google account to create a ChatGPT account. So it takes literally 20 seconds to create an account. Then you'll be able to access this for free. I also want to make sure you know how to get back to the bot once you, like, for example, start a new chat in ChatGPT. You could always go to the left, and then near the top here is where it will show your custom GPTs, which is what this bot technically is. So you can just click on it or click on this new chat button right here, right next to it, and then it will create a new chat with this Become an Instructional Designer bot. And let's just see. So I asked it, what's the path to become an instructional designer? And then you'll see you'll get an in-depth response. So familiarize yourself with the field, watch videos, read articles, join the community, understand the types of roles available. You need to learn the instructional design theory and models, and it gives some of the most important ones here. So again, this is all trained on the recommendations we would give. It could make mistakes. It is AI, so it could potentially hallucinate, and I'll share with you what we can do to counteract that. Also learn the tech, like mastering Articulate Storyline. It gives some supporting technology you can use. It suggests building your portfolio. Of course, that's going to be the most important part here. The portfolio is how you show off your skills to hiring managers, and it's what helps you really stand out amongst all the other applicants. Optimize your resume, highlight your transferable skills, network and engage with the community. Prepare for interviews, and then continue learning and growing. So this was just the first time I asked it this. So all of these examples I'm going to show you is just the first chat I asked. And if it didn't do a good job, I retrained the model and then asked it again. But I think it's in a pretty decent spot. But again, it won't be perfect. I want to show you how I'm setting up this video. Is like, I'm going to show you some of what the AI is generating, but then I also have some slides with like the need to know information or like the essentials, just to kind of serve as a human guide who's been doing this for a while. You can ask the AI about some of this stuff or dive deeper with the AI free bot that I've made for you. So generally, this is a slide taken right out of our video from last year about becoming an instructional designer. The overall process didn't change, but first of all, make sure idea is right for you, right? You don't want to invest all of this time and potentially money and effort into the field and then find out, oh yeah, maybe I'd be happier doing, UX design or be a project manager or something like that. And if it happens, so be it, but do your research up front. Once you have a pretty good understanding of like, yeah, this will be good for me, learn the knowledge and skills. So this is where you're going to be learning more about instructional design theory and models, and you're going to be getting hands-on with some of the technology. So it's kind of like a learning phase. And then from there, creating your portfolio. So again, this is the moneymaker. This is what's going to help you get hired more than anything else. And this is what we want to be really polished and professional, so that you can show hiring managers and potential clients that you really know your stuff. And you have a good attention to detail and can avoid mistakes. From there, you would optimize your resume and LinkedIn profile to drive traffic to that portfolio site and kind of get your name out there in the industry even better. Then you'd apply to roles and prepare for the interview, and then finally enjoy that new career. So that's our overall process. If you want to see, if you want me to dive deep into all this with you, check out the video from last year. I'll link that in the description, but it's going to be a little bit different than this one. I might share some deeper perspectives, but still, this is the overall process. You can see it aligned pretty nicely with what the chatbot said here. Let's see. Oh yeah. So then if you weren't sure if instructional design is right for you, I just asked this Become an ID bot that I made for you, and it's going to ask you a lot of questions. So what you could literally do responding to this bot is answer them. So, the first question, do you enjoy creating learning experiences? Yeah, I love it. I used to do that as a teacher and got a lot of satisfaction from it. And then you can just do a line break and then go to 2. Are you interested in problem solving? And yeah, why not? So you can interact with this bot by responding to these questions and have that conversation go further. So you could take a look at this. I also have a full video about if instructional design is right for you. That is usually a good starting place for people that are newer to the field. So check that one out if you haven't, if you don't already know that idea is right for you. But yeah, or feel free to use the bot, because I think it does a pretty good job. It's asking some pretty solid questions to figure out if this field would be a good fit for you. All right. So let's hop back over here. I'm going to dive into some of this stuff in more detail in this video, but remember that other video exists too. To make things even simpler, you can think of things in these 3 phases. So phase 1 is where you're learning the knowledge and the skills of the field. So you're really experimenting. So you're trying out some different tools, doing free trials. You're watching YouTube videos like this one to essentially learn the lingo of the field. Like, what are the different models people know? What are all these different key terms? You know, when you look at a job description, you want to know what most of the stuff is, because in the beginning, if you look at a job description, you're just going to be like, what is all of this stuff? This seems way too overwhelming. How am I going to learn it all? So hopefully videos like this will help you cut through some of that noise and just get more and more familiar with the, you know, all the stuff you would see on those job listings. So phase 2, once you have a pretty good handle on the field, is to build your portfolio and, you know, make at least one solid polished project for your portfolio. So that piece is, again, most important piece. So once you do all of that experimentation and have a solid skill set, you want to say, okay, I need to think of some really solid projects now to build for this portfolio website, because that's how I'm going to be presenting myself to the world. And in many cases, that's what's going to make the difference of whether or not you're getting interviews or getting hired. And we're going to dive deeper into it. And then phase 3, once you have that portfolio to back you up, you're going to be landing, you know, a decent number of interviews. And from those interviews, you may be getting offers. So I would suggest negotiating to get better terms or higher pay. And then, of course, getting hired. So those are the 3 main phases. Phase 1, you're basically in phase 0, where you're like figuring out if idea is right for you, or probably in phase 1 right now. Don't worry so much about building a polished portfolio when you're still trying to learn the tool, but it's very likely and not uncommon where maybe one of your practice projects you built in phase 1 to learn a tool, you might wind up turning that into something more polished and professional in phase 2 for your portfolio site. And then I used to have networking as like a part of phase 3, like once your portfolio is done, but I don't think that's the best recommendation anymore. Like, I think you should be networking and engaging with the community starting right now, right? Like, that's only going to help you. And if you're open to it, working out loud is even more powerful. That's basically what I do here on this channel, right? Like, if I'm like, I have this project I want to create, I'm going to tell the community I want to create it, and then I'm going to try my best to create it, and then I'll record a video about how I created it, or what challenges I faced, or what my reviews are of the tools that I used. So if you feel comfortable doing that, either on LinkedIn posts or, you know, YouTube videos are obviously great, blog posts, even like tweets, if you want to do it in like a really short format. Getting into that practice of working out loud and being in the community and getting your name out there is going to bring a lot more opportunities your way. So not an essential, but definitely can help fast track things and lead to some opportunities that would be impossible to achieve otherwise. So we do have this community. We'd love to see you in there. You can go to devlinpeck.com/ID if you want to run stuff by actual real humans who are in the field. So that's what I meant earlier. Sometimes the chatbot, maybe it will hallucinate. Maybe it will say something that's confusing. Maybe you just want to, you know, run it by me or the other people in there and say, does this sound right? This community will be a nice safe space to do that. It's very beginner friendly, so no questions are dumb questions in this space. I also, before we get deeper into the weeds about the terms and the theories and everything that you need to learn, I want to talk a bit about staying motivated, because becoming an ID is quite an emotional journey. It's very overwhelming at first. And there are going to be some low points. So maybe, you know, right now when you're watching this, you might be feeling super optimistic and like this is going to happen. And I think you should feel that way, right? Like, if you can stay motivated and you can put in the time to make this career transition, it is going to happen. The world needs good IDs. But it's hard sometimes seeing people get discouraged. But yeah, don't get discouraged by other people's success or their struggles. That seems to be when the lows come up the most. It's like when people are seeing on their job feed other people getting hired and then realizing like, oh, why am I not having as much success? Or seeing a story about how someone gets hired in like 3 months from scratch. And it's like, oh, well, I've already been working on this for 4 months. Why am I not hired yet? Be happy for those people. Your time is coming. It might take a little longer, or it might be way faster than other people, but just because other people are getting jobs, it doesn't mean that there are like fewer jobs for you or that you're going to have a harder time getting hired. People have been worried about this stuff since 2017. I was worried about this when I was getting into the field. I'm like, oh, is it saturated, right? Like, you know, will I be able to get a job? there was no reason to be worried about that. If you're putting in the work to build these skills, like, the world needs you. And then other people's struggles too can be discouraging sometimes. Like if you see people saying, oh, I've applied to 200 jobs and I'm not getting any interviews. That's not the norm, especially if you're putting in all the work to build your portfolio and build your skills like this. So just because other people are having a hard time, it doesn't mean that you're going to, unless you're like not building a portfolio and not doing these things that are kind of necessary to get the job. So as a little thought, to see how the chatbot the AI would handle this, I sent a message here. I'm like, I'm feeling discouraged about becoming an ID. I see people post about how they got laid off or how they're having a hard time getting hired. They're saying the field is saturated. What should I do? And I thought the bot did a really good job at understanding here, honestly, better than I could have. So there are hurdles. You can become an ID with the right approach and effort. Here's what you can do. Saturation is relative. So I see this all the time. Some people are like, oh yeah, like, it's a field saturated. Like, like my cousin got laid off and is like having a hard time getting another job. No, okay. The field is not saturated. We need good IDs. So while more people are interested in ID, there's also an increasing demand for skilled professionals who stand out. Many of the people struggling might not have developed the right skills, portfolio, or strategy to market themselves effectively. And 100% of the time when I see someone say, I've been applying for 6 months and not having any luck, they may have done a formal education program and their portfolio either doesn't exist or you can tell right when you open it that it's not going to help them get hired. So yeah, if you're spending time on this channel and looking at the portfolios that we showcase that help people get work and you have a portfolio like that, you're not going to have a hard time. It's still going to be a hard time, right? But you are going to land a good role in the end if you're putting in the time to do the right stuff. So yeah, companies are always going to need e-learning, onboarding, training programs. I mean, unless AI takes it over us all, but I don't think that's around the corner by any means. And then, the AI still mentions, build a stellar portfolio, highlight these in-demand tools, highlight these other skills, make sure that you're designing this engaging project. And we're going to get into all of this, but I would say if you're feeling discouraged, talk to us about it in the community. You can get some human perspectives. But again, AI is doing a pretty good job, as you can see from this response here. So give it a try. Let me know what you think, but I was impressed. Okay, let's dive into the key terms in tech. Maybe drop a comment, take a little stretch break, because I'm talking a lot and we're about to get into the weeds a bit more. So let's take a look at it. These I would say are like some essential ones. I wouldn't say this is an exhaustive list, but if you start here, you're going to be like 80% of the way there. So first up, you can learn about different instructional design models. ADDIE is the classic one. It kind of covers all the different job tasks that an ID might perform. SAM is a bit more agile and more focused on prototyping, a bit more popular in the tech space on some teams. Kirkpatrick's model of evaluation, really solid, easy to understand evaluation framework. Gagne's 9 events are great too. If you're a teacher, you're probably already using these to some degree in your lesson planning, but it essentially tells you how to create like a comprehensive learning experience following like some science-backed principles, like gaining attention and providing practice opportunities and feedback and stuff like that. And then Bloom's taxonomy is really useful for writing learning objectives. So I have full videos on every single one of these models I just mentioned. I would suggest you check them out. We actually have a full Become an Instructional Designer playlist. But spend some time with this, learning about this stuff, being able to talk about it, and eventually being able to apply it to create some learning experiences. That's all going to help you become an ID. Some good ID theory to look into. Mayer's multimedia principles are a favorite, especially if you're going to be designing e-learning, which most instructional designers are. And then learning more about cognitive information processing / cognitive load. That's really valuable too. And that's essentially about, not including any like extraneous or irrelevant or unnecessary information or interactions or anything like that might distract from our actual learning goals. And not overloading people's like cognition so that they can't actually focus on what we need them to focus on, which is the stuff that's going to help them learn. So again, I have in-depth videos about this stuff. If you're interested in the theory, you can watch, I think we have like an ID masterclass, like intro to ID or something like that. Definitely check that one out if you're new to all of this stuff. For the e-learning authoring tools, Articulate has a pretty solid grasp on the corporate world right now. There are probably hundreds of e-learning tools, but most hiring managers are looking for people who have experience with either Storyline 360 and or Rise 360. Storyline is more powerful and more complex and more in demand, but Rise 360 has been becoming more popular. It's nice and easy. It's really good for like information heavy learning experiences. So make sure you know what those are. Learning management systems, the actual brand, or like all different companies use different learning management systems, but you can get experience with Talent LMS or Docebo and you can see what they're all about. It might sound more intimidating than it is. It's really not. You basically publish something from an e-learning course and then you can upload it to an LMS and you can choose which students get enrolled in that course. So there's of course way more capability than that, but as an instructional designer, you probably aren't going to be going super in depth unless you're like having to do it all and you're the only ID at your company. E-learning specifications, you'll probably see these on job listings. They might look confusing. You could learn how to define them. I don't think that's essential. Again, if you're publishing from an e-learning course, you publish it as a SCORM package. Or from an e-learning tool, you'll publish it as a SCORM package. That's what you upload to the LMS or XAPI. That one's a bit more modern. It can help you track a lot more specific data, but it's not as popular as SCORM. Again, just giving you some overviews, trying to help guide you here. Strategies, you can look into chunking and scaffolding. Those are two of my favorites, but it's really about like how to present and sequence information to make sure that people can consume it in a way that is easiest for them. Now, again, there are of course a lot more theories and terms and stuff that you could learn. I actually even asked a little AI assistant what are some key terms I should know. And obviously this is a more comprehensive list. So it's got these ones. That's good. I think I covered all of those. Oh yeah, storyboarding. That's a good term to know. And see, it's nice and organized for us too when the AI gives it to us. Better than my slide, I'd say. The design principles. Yeah, actually, gamification, that's a good one to know and be familiar with. Different types of analysis. Now, the cool thing about using the bot is we could ask questions. We could say like, we could ask follow-up questions. And I think I even did that. Like what are Gagne's 9 events? Can you include examples? And then it can go step by step into what each event is. It can give an example of how that event would be applied in a corporate learning project. So I highly suggest taking some time. You could spend an hour with this bot going term by term and see how it does. Again, potential to hallucinate, but I'm pretty impressed with how it's been doing so far. And I'd love to get some feedback. And then from there, you could even ask it, like, can you quiz me on the terms and give me feedback on how I'm doing? So if you like learning like that in an interactive format, like flashcards and stuff like that, this bot has got you covered. Like and then it asks me, what are the 5 phases of the ADDIE model? I get the last one wrong just to see how it responds. And it's like close. The last one is evaluate. And so then I might have a follow-up question about this and I can say, how is the effectiveness of the solution evaluated, right? It's like, what if I didn't know that? And then I answered number 2. And so then it gives me that full response to my question. Here's how it's typically evaluated: learner feedback surveys, quizzes or tests, observing behavior and business results. And that's essentially Kirkpatrick's in a nutshell. So yeah, I hope that's helpful, but these are some ways that you can engage with this bot to upskill way faster than if you were just watching YouTube videos or just doing your own research or reading a book or something like that. Like, we've come a long way, right? Like, this is 2025. And then also, again, since I kind of want to share like some human guidance that you can explore some of this further with the bot, but I wanted to highlight some of these like really important skills that I think IDs should have. Again, this isn't a comprehensive list, but this will get you pretty far. The first one is identifying when a learning solution will help solve a performance problem. So imagine a company has employees that aren't doing as well as they could be, or who don't know how to do something that they need to do. As an instructional designer, you should know when a learning solution will actually help those people do their job better. So that involves some analysis, that involves asking some good questions and some soft skills, because the problem might be some faulty technology, but if someone's asking you to design an information-based course to solve the issue, if you're just like, okay, let me solve that course, it might not actually help solve the problem. So a lot of other skills go into this, like some business acumen, some analysis skills, but overall, this is a good prompt to kind of explore with the AI if you're open to it. So another soft skills one, like working with varied stakeholders and communicating effectively. I can't understate how important the soft skills are, especially in this like age of AI where human to human communication is going to be even more powerful, in my opinion. So yeah, you're going to have to work with, talk to people in your potential audience. You're going to have to work with experts who, might be explaining things way over the head of you and what your potential audience could understand. And you're going to have to kind of, communicate with them in a way where you can get the information you need and make sure you can package it for people who don't know as much. You're going to have to work with business stakeholders who might have their mind in like the business metrics and business impact. And you're going to have to communicate at a level that resonates with them. So soft skills, can never overstate the importance of the soft skills. That's going to make you a really solid ID. Applying ID models and theory to design effective solutions. That's a core aspect of the job. That's what most hiring managers are looking for when we survey them. So again, getting comfortable with these models and theories, making sure that if you do design a learning solution that is actually going to help people learn something, I mean, that sums up like why this job came about in the first place, I would say, right? We want to design systems that can help people actually, it's a little broader than just designing a specific learning experience, because you can also design learning systems that, we're improving the learning solution as we get more feedback and data from our audience, but we won't get into that right now. Designing visually appealing layouts. I added this one in here just because it can help you so much. Like if you can design like polished, professional looking e-learning, it's going to help you get hired faster, and it's going to, bigger brands or companies with more eyes on their learning experiences are going to trust you more to handle the project if it looks good and is easy to navigate and your information is easy to consume. Developing e-learning experiences and rapid authoring tools. Again, I would say in the corporate space, more likely than not, this is going to be a part of your job unless you're like actively seeking out roles that don't include this, or, you just happen in one that doesn't do this. But most instructional designers are doing some type of e-learning work, and that would be using a tool like Articulate Storyline. So you'll definitely want to get some practice with that skill. And then managing learning on an LMS. Again, I have a video on this from years ago. Not much has changed here. Just get some practice with it. Do an LMS trial, upload a score and package. You'll feel so much less intimidated by this when you see it on job listings if you actually do it for yourself, and you could do it in a couple of hours, if not, a lot less than that. And then finally, evaluating learning via surveys, data analysis, writing solid assessments, quizzes, all of that good stuff. So being able to evaluate how effective your learning is, that's important too, because obviously, we want to make sure the learning is effective. So these are some solid skills I would focus on if you want to ask the AI assistant about this or get some practice with it. This would be a good place to start. And if you are watching this and you are more experienced and you want to add anything to this, feel free to add it in the comments, because again, this is not a comprehensive list. Let's see. I'm getting into the portfolio. I want to see what I have next. Okay, so the portfolio, like I said earlier, this is the moneymaker, right? Like when I was getting into the field, every time I would do a new update to my portfolio, it would have like a direct impact on how many clients are reaching out to me, what the budgets are of those clients, and how much of like a household brand name that client is. So yeah, this is like, it's not really a secret. This is what people were saying when I got into the field. They're like, make sure your portfolio is really good. And I did. I put a ton of time into it and was constantly iterating on it, even though I had multiple part-time jobs and was doing a master's program and had client work I had to get done. I knew that this was like the ticket to higher paying and better work for me. So yeah, can't understate how much you need to focus on your portfolio. So this is Our approach is making sure that it's polished and professional, and including projects that highlight in-demand skills, and taking that even further, that solve real-world problems. So I have full videos on this, like my how to design effective e-learning video. That would be a really good one to check out. It helps you make like a really solid flagship project, which I'll talk about in a second. But a solid flagship project on a easy to navigate, like visually appealing portfolio, that's going to do most of the heavy lifting for you when it comes to getting a job. If you want to see some examples of some of these portfolios that have helped people get hired, go to devlinpeck.com/showcase. And yeah, let's talk about the flagship project. So this is where you bring together all of these in-demand skills, like your e-learning development skills, your analysis skills, your instructional design, model and theory skills, and you create a story-driven scenario-based project. So you show that you can solve a real-world problem, and you engage hiring managers and potential clients. So these flagship projects often feel almost like games. They include some gamification elements. And yeah, it's like you're going through this simulation, you're on the job, and you have to make decisions. And if you make mistakes, you see the consequences. And if you do well, you get rewarded. So these, for years now, have been doing really, really well on people's portfolios because they are more engaging than a more typical like information heavy project where you're just like, here's a bunch of information and quiz questions. Some real world instructional design might look like that, but it's not as good at keeping people engaged who you want to be engaged on your portfolio so that they can interview you or potentially extend you an offer. So yeah, dive deeper into the flagship project stuff if you're interested in that. I'll show you briefly how the AI assistant can help. So I just asked it, can you help me come up with a good portfolio project? And then it wants to ask some questions to make it more personalized, like what industry or topic interests you, what kind of learners would you like to design for. I wanted to see how it would do if I was just like, I don't know, I don't have any strong preferences about that. I just want a stable job with good work-life balance and a comfortable salary. Because that's where a lot of people are at that I talk to. They're like, I don't care if it's in healthcare or tech. I just want to be able to help people learn and like my job. All right, so then it gave this suggested portfolio project. Let's see, what was its idea? Navigating difficult conversations in the workplace. So I was like, that's kind of boring. Like we want to make, that's kind of generic. Can we do something more unique and tailored to my interests? And then it was like, yeah, sure. Here's some ideas. An escape room e-learning. I think that would be really cool. But I wanted to show you this because I wouldn't typically recommend doing like a, in quotes, generic e-learning project. I would suggest doing something a bit more, tailored to your interests and your background and your experience. But that's why it's good to be in the human instructional design community as well, just so that you can run ideas and stuff by other people. So that was that. I also wanted to see how it would do with the flagship project. So I just said, how should I create my flagship project? And then it says, pick a topic that excites you, define a specific audience, design your approach. So yeah, not too bad here. I will say I could program this bot to be able to give even more in-depth descriptions and instructions for the flagship project, for example, but I think it would be better to have a whole separate bot for that. So again, just keep me informed about how you want to use this bot, and if you are using it, where does it fall short? Because some of this stuff might not be 100% aligned with our approach, but it will still get you most of the way there and will be a lot better than just not asking anyone at all. So let's hop back over to the PowerPoint, see what I have in store for you next. Oh yeah, using AI to stand out on your portfolio. This, I think, is also a huge opportunity. So we've talked about using AI to kind of speed up your upskilling process, get some extra practice, do some brainstorming about your portfolio. That's going to be really helpful, right? Having that 24/7 on-demand guide. But you can also use AI in your portfolio to stand out to hiring managers. You saw those job listings. You might see the buzz around AI in the field. If you have AI included in your portfolio, it's going to turn some heads. So I separated out into 3 different tiers or levels essentially. So tier 1, I'd say, is using AI in your instructional design process. So you're maybe using ChatGPT to do some brainstorming about learning activities or to analyze some data that might give you insights about what learning solution would be most helpful. Essentially using a tool like ChatGPT or Claude to do some initial research, some initial brainstorming and strategy. Tier 2, I would say, is is generating assets that you can use in the development process. So using some of the tools that are part of the free Picasso suite. Those are really good and accessible. I would highly recommend that if you're new to AI. Or using Articulate's AI assistant, using a tool like Midjourney. So here I'm talking about generating like AI characters, AI images, AI sound effects or narration. We have a handful of AI videos on the channel that will introduce you to all of those tools, but being able to show off a final project and show off how some of the assets were generated with AI, especially if they look professional and like they are production ready, that is going to really stand out to people. And I didn't mention it, but like in tier 1, where you're using AI in your design process, the way you hide that on your portfolio is in your process write-up. So for every portfolio project you have, you'll also have a write-up where you explain why you built that project, how you built that project, so on and so forth. And if you're using AI in your process, in that write-up, I would definitely like include screenshots from your chat that you had with an AI, like really help hiring managers and potential clients see exactly how you're using AI in that process write-up to build their confidence that, oh, wow, yeah, they're getting some good insights from this, or, oh, wow, I see how this is helping them be more creative. Like you want to highlight that stuff. And then finally, tier 3, this is the most difficult because it requires some code, but integrating AI into some typical e-learning experiences. That's something I did a couple months ago with like the AI haunted house, where we built this AI ghost inside of an e-learning project, and we had to like empathize with it. So it's kind of like a customer service training, but if we weren't doing very well, the ghost could take actions like making thunder sound effects play or like turning the lights on and off. So doing stuff like that, and I mentioned that because that got a big reaction, and I have a feeling that if you can include a project like this on your portfolio, it's going to really signal to hiring managers that one, you're not afraid of code and more technical aspects of instructional design, and 2, yeah, you're on the cutting edge and staying informed about like what's possible. And 3, as a potential bonus, like you could design some learning experiences for their audience that they're going to have a hard time finding another instructional designer to do. So check it out. I also will say, as some encouragement, someone who's new to instructional design, they joined our bootcamp program like less than 2 months ago. She's still learning storyline, but after watching that haunted house video, she decided to watch it like 5 times over and work with AI, like I suggest in the video, to incorporate AI into this storyline project. And she's doing super advanced implementations of it in multiple different places, and she's still learning storyline. So I'm like, I can already tell that you're not going to have a hard time succeeding in the industry if you're brave enough to kind of just dive in and learn this really technical skill and then create a pretty impressive learning experience with it, where if people aren't up to date on this, they're gonna be like, how is this even possible? How are you getting it to like talk back to you and like give you this feedback and stuff? It feels like another person's on the other end of it. So yeah, integrating AI into a tool like Storyline 360, that I would say most effort, but definitely highest reward with how it's going to look to hiring managers. I want to briefly touch on some of this stuff. Again, I dive deeper into this in the Become an ID video from last year, but it's important. So when you're branding yourself on your resume and your LinkedIn, and just internally in your own mind, like think of yourself as an instructional designer. Think about what instructional design tasks you were performing in your previous jobs, even if your job title wasn't instructional designer, because this field is very interdisciplinary, and I would say 98% certainty that you were performing instructional design tasks, whether it's analyzing stuff or designing learning experiences. So once you've done some of that work and you have an idea about how you've been doing ID tasks in your previous roles, you'll want to update your resume and LinkedIn to reflect those ID skills. So these are ways that you'll communicate to the rest of the industry that, yeah, I've been doing this work and I've been passionate about it, even though I might not have actually had that instructional designer job title. So this is just one step in your learning career. So if you need any help with that, feel free to drop a comment. Actually, better yet, you could hop over into the bot. So here as an example, I just said, I've been teaching for the past 5 years and need to make my resume more instructional design focused. Can you share some general tips or suggestions? And so then the bot takes it away. It talks about tailoring your professional summary. We don't always recommend including those. So again, this is something I might refine. But it talks about highlighting those transferable skills. So curriculum development, instructional technology, assessment and evaluation, differentiating your instruction based on diverse learner needs. These are all things that you'd be doing as an ID that you might have also done if you were a teacher. And again, there would be similar overlap if you were a graphic designer or a corporate trainer or some kind of another multimedia profession. So feel free to use the bot in this way, and you could even upload your resume and ask it to give you some feedback, or upload your LinkedIn about section and ask if it would make any suggestions to make it more ID tailored. But yeah, long story short, brand yourself as an instructional designer, embrace that job title going forward. And for the past roles that you've held, highlight the ID aspects of the job, even if it's not what you were doing 90% of the time. If you were designing learning experiences, maybe once a quarter or something, or once a year, you'll still want to highlight those aspects of the job that you've held. Finally, once you get into the interviewing, keep in mind, this is an emotional part of the process. A lot of people think interviewing is going to be the easy part because they're like, okay, I learned all the skills, I have my portfolio, now I just get to coast. But interviewing can be rough, right? Like it can feel like you're out of control sometimes because sometimes people will make you wait for weeks. Sometimes you'll apply to a role you're really excited about and you won't hear anything at all until like a month later, or not at all. So it sucks. It can take a few months in some cases. It could take like around a month generally, on average, I would say. But I've heard time and time again that people have a rough time during the interview process just because there is so much uncertainty. There is so much waiting, which can be really upsetting at this point. There can be doubt. But yeah, prep and practice is key. So we have deeper videos about this. I'm not going to go into how to do that prep and practice here, other than to use the nice AI assistant. So I think it did pretty well. I asked it, can you help me prepare for my instructional design interview? And then it asks some questions up front. What's the specific role or company you're interviewing with? Do you already have a portfolio? And have you done mock interviews or practice common interview questions before? And so then I gave it my response. I said, 1, Apple, just made it up. For 2, I said, yes, I have a portfolio. And for 3, I said, no, I haven't practiced in this way. So then it gives in-depth instructions on how to prep for this interview. Tailor my responses to Apple specifically by focusing on these things that might be important to them. Prepare to present my portfolio by picking out some projects and getting comfortable talking about them. Practice common interview questions. And then it shares some of these. So then it offers like, would you like to do a mock interview? I'm like, yeah, let's do a mock interview. And so then here we go. Can you walk me through your design process when working on a learning solution? And this is a question you more likely than not will get asked at almost every interview. So that's a really solid one for it to start on. So this tool is out there. It's completely free. I highly suggest you doing stuff like you use it for stuff like this. And again, if this is helping you, again, I'm impressed by how it's doing already, but if this is helping you, we'll put in, 10 times the work to make it twice as good. This is the MVP, but we'll put in a lot of work on this if this is something that you want to see. Oh, I had a note in here about negotiation, right? If you do have the space to negotiate, you can definitely get better salaries or higher salaries and better terms, like more remote days or more vacation time. So yeah, it's usually half and half if people want to negotiate, and usually that negotiation does lead to better terms, or half the time people are like, I don't want to risk it. People, want to just be done with the process and they're afraid that negotiating might hurt them. I think it's always worth it. But again, I understand people who are like, I just want to be done with this process and this offer I got, I'm already really happy with it. So I don't want to push it, but just want to mention that. All right, so what's next? Use this AI assistant to help you become an ID faster. From what I've seen so far, maybe let me know what you think in the comments. I think it has the potential to do that. It's basically your own personalized ID tutor on call 24/7. Join us in the community if you want to run stuff by real people in the field, or if you just want to provide more feedback in there. I'd love to see what you all are doing with this little tool. I personally am interested in building out AI tooling like this, especially much more complex implementations of this, like a resume specific bot and like a flagship project specific bot and so on and so forth. So definitely join the community if you want to stay tuned on that journey. And then please, if this helped you in any way, or you think you'll get some value out of this bot, or you just want to stay up to date on what we're doing, please subscribe. I have a lot more AI videos coming, and you know, seeing y'all subscribe lets me know that I'm doing something that you like, and it's free, and you can always unsubscribe. So I appreciate you making it to the end. Again, welcome if you're new here, and I will see you in the next video.